everybody, and welcome back to Plus Ultra Pitching. Last week we started a common mistakes and common tendencies of pitchers, and this week we're going to continue on. As I mentioned last week, the pitching motion is a bit nuanced, so I'm breaking it up into segments for us to hopefully facilitate your learning process. So this week we are going to focus on your throwing arm, your wrist snap, and your follow through. So number one is your arm length as you're actually coming through your pitch. I've seen a lot of pitchers, because even though we want to have this nice bend in our elbow, this bend in the elbow mostly comes from your arm being loose. It's not you making a muscle, right? It's from a nice loose arm, as opposed to having your arm completely locked out and stiff. So when I say a loose bent elbow, what I mean is when you get here, you want your arm to be loose. You don't want it to be completely locked out. But what I'm seeing sometimes is pitchers who bend their elbow too much and they start coming like kind of over their head, or when they're pitching, their arm is completely bent at this elbow position and they're losing a lot of power. So that's one big thing, is that you're going to lose a lot of power. And if your elbow bends a little bit differently every time, you're not going to be able to have a consistent wrist snap. So to fix that, I like to just kind of practice swinging my arm around in a circle and try to get it as long as I possibly can. I focus on, trying to grab the highest apple on the tree and then letting it drop just naturally. And you'll see that if your arm is staying loose, if you pause, you have that slight bend in your elbow, but you still want to keep your arm as long as possible. So a couple drills that you can do to help with this, I'm going to be pitching into my glove today, is you can just do a couple of nice loose circles with the softball. 1, 2, 3. And then once this is feeling good, release the ball to your net, your catcher, your glove, wherever it is that you're pitching to. Just really practice getting long and staying nice and loose with your arm. So again, no bent arm, keeping it nice and long. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot with my pitchers is they like to kind of push the ball instead of snapping the ball with that forward upward motion that we talked about in the first video and in the wrist snap review we did a couple of weeks ago. So to help with that, so when I say push the ball, I mean as they get here, instead of snapping that ball forward using their 4 fingers, they're kind of using their palms to just push the ball. How do you know if you're snapping the ball? If you have a straight ball, you'll see the spin. You want that ball to be spinning to your catcher and to your target. So one thing that you can do to help with that is just kind of keep your arm nice and loose right by your back hip and practice not moving anything other than 4 fingers behind the softball and snapping that ball up to yourself, so you can get a feel for how the wrist snap should feel and where you should be snapping it. One thing that I really like to do with my pitchers is excuse me, as they are coming around their circle, they'll do a wrist snap, catch it, and then I'll have them actually pitch, and they see a huge difference in the actual wrist snap, actually snapping that ball off. So try to get as much spin as possible on that softball. The last thing that I notice a lot with pitchers is their follow through. Some people will kind of chicken arm it after their follow through. Some people will just kind of stop. Some will kind of come way up to their chest. When you're done pitching the softball, you want your arm to be done by your front hip. So you snap the ball off and then you just relax it right next to your front hip. One thing that I like to do with that is after you finish snapping the ball off, you can practice snap, pause, and then you just can relax right next to your hip, so your body learns where to follow through and where to finish. So that's what I have for you guys today. Again, drill number 1 is just doing some nice loose arm circles. 1, 2, 3, and then snap. Drill number 2 is to just snap that ball up towards you, getting all 4 fingers behind it and getting the ball to spin as much as possible. And drill number 3 is going to be to pause after the snap and then relax your hand right next to your front hip. I hope that this was helpful. The wrist snap is really huge with softball, so these drills will be great for your progression. As always, please subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every week. Put your questions in the comment section below, and Plus Ultra!